anyway, by the grace of my computer, or whatever computer demons have come into it, or maybe they're devotees just trying to keep me here. But I won't leave tomorrow, I'll leave the day after tomorrow, so we can have a reading tomorrow. Again, one more day.
You have to stay one more day?
Yeah. I have to stay one more day because, anyway, I won't waste our time talking about that. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're continuing our reading of the Bhagavad-Gita as it is. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna enlightening us. We're on chapter 8. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the chapter that I just read in the other room, the Bhagavatam. Sorry, I gotta find my way back to the Gita here. Just take a second. Chapter 8, verse 17. Yeah. We're in chapter 8, beginning with text 17. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vido Janaha. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Purport. The duration of the material universe is limited. It is manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages: Satya, Treta, Dwarapa, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion. Didn't we read this? We did read this.
We're 18.
18. We're on 18. Yeah. Okay, text 18. Avyakta yaksarva prabhavantya haragame ratragame praliyante tatraiva vakyasamgake. Yes. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. Text 19. Bhuttagrama se evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratjargame vashakparta prabhavatyaharagame. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Purport. Hare Krishna. The less intelligent who try to remain within this material world may be elevated to higher planets, and then again must come down to this planet Earth. During the daytime of Brahma, they can exhibit their activities on higher and lower planets within this material world. But at the coming of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. In the day, they receive various bodies for material activities, and at night they no longer have bodies, but remain compact in the body of Vishnu. Then again, they are manifest at the arrival of Brahma's day. Bhutva, Bhutva, Praliyate. During the day, they become manifest, and at night, they are annihilated again. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they are all annihilated and remain unmanifest for millions and millions of years. And when Brahma is born again in another millennium, they are again manifest. In this way, they are captivated by the spell of the material world. But those intelligent persons who take to Krishna consciousness use the human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. They thus transfer themselves, even in this life, to the spiritual planet of Krishna and become eternally blissful there, not being subject to such rebirths. Text 20. Parastasmatu babonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yaksa sarveshu bhuteshu nashatsu navinashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Purport. Krishna's superior spiritual energy is transcendental and eternal. It is beyond all the changes of material nature, which is manifest and annihilated during the days and nights of Brahma. Krishna's superior energy is completely opposite in quality to material nature. Superior and inferior nature are explained in the 7th chapter, text 21. Abhyakto chada ityuktas tam ahu paramam gatim yam prapya nanivartante tadhama paramam mama. That which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode. Purport. The supreme abode of the personality of Godhead Krishna is described in the Brahma Samhita as Chintamani Dham, a place where all desires are fulfilled. The supreme abode of Lord Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, is full of palaces made of touchstone. There are also trees called desire trees that supply any type of eatable upon demand, and there are cows known as Surabhi cows, which supply a limitless supply of milk. In this abode, the Lord is served by hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune, Lakshmis, and he is called Govinda, the primal Lord and the cause of all causes. The Lord is accustomed to blow his flute, Venum Kwanantam. His transcendental form is the most attractive in all the worlds. His eyes are like lotus petals, and the color of his body is like the color of clouds. He is so attractive that his beauty excels that of thousands of cupids. He wears saffron cloth, a garland around his neck, and a peacock feather in his hair. In the Bhagavad-Gita, Lord Krishna gives only a small hint of his personal abode, Goloka Vrindavan, which is the supermost planet in the spiritual kingdom. A vivid description is given in the Brahma Samhita. Vedic literatures state that there is nothing superior to the abode of the Supreme Godhead, and that abode is the ultimate destination, Purushan, na param kinchit sakashta saparagatihi. When one attains to it, he never returns to the material world. Krishna's supreme abode and Krishna himself are non-different, being of the same quality. On this earth, Vrindavan, 90 miles southeast of Delhi, is a replica of that supreme Goloka Vrindavan, located in the spiritual sky. When Krishna descended on this earth, he sported on that particular tract of land known as Vrindavan, in the district of Mathura, India. Text 22. Purusha sapaga partha papya labhya stvananyaya yasyantakstani bhutani yena sarvamidantatam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all-pervading, and everything is situated within him. Purport. It is here clearly stated that the supreme destination from which there is no return is the abode of Krishna, the Supreme Person. The Brahma Samhita describes this supreme abode as Ananda, Chinmaya Rasa, a place where everything is full of spiritual bliss. All the variegatedness manifest there is of the quality of spiritual bliss. Nothing there is material. That variegatedness is expanded as the spiritual expansion of the Supreme Godhead Himself. For the manifestation there is totally of the spiritual energy. It's explained in the 7th chapter. As far as this material world is concerned, although the Lord is always in His supreme abode, He is nonetheless all-pervading by His material energy. So by His spiritual and material energies, He is present everywhere, both in the material and in the spiritual universes. Yasyantak stani means that everything is sustained within Him, within either His spiritual or material energy. The Lord is all-pervading by these two energies. To enter Krishna's supreme abode, or the innumerable Vaikuntha planets, is possible only by bhakti, devotional service, as clearly indicated here by the word bhaktya. No other process can help one attain that supreme abode. The Vedas, Gopal Tapani Upanishad, also describe the supreme abode and the supreme personality of Godhead. Eko Vashi Sarvaga Krishna. In that abode there is only one supreme personality of Godhead, whose name is Krishna. He is the supreme merciful deity, and although situated there as one, He has expanded Himself into millions and millions of plenary expansions. The Vedas compared the Lord to a tree standing still, yet bearing many varieties of fruits, flowers, and changing leaves. The plenary expansions of the Lord who preside over the Vaikuntha planets are four-armed, and they are known by a variety of names: Purushottam, Trivikram, Kesava, Madhava, Aniruddha, Rishikesha, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Sridhar, Vasudev, Damodar, Janardhan, Narayana, Vamana, Padmanabha, and so on. The Brahma Samhita also confirms that although the Lord is always in the supreme abode, Goloka Vrindavan, He is all-pervading, so that everything is going on nicely. Goloka eva nivasat yakilatma bhutaha. As stated in the Vedas, Parasya Shaktir vividhai vishruyate swabhaviki jnana bala kriya cha. His energies are so expansive that they systematically conduct everything in the cosmic manifestation without a flaw, although the Supreme Lord is far, far away. Text 23. Yatrikale tvanavritim avritim chaiva yoginaha prayata yanti tam kalam bhakshami bharatarshava. O best of the Bharats, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. Purport. The unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are totally surrendered souls, do not care when they leave their bodies or by what method. They leave everything in Krishna's hands and so easily and happily return to Godhead. But those who are not unalloyed devotees and who depend instead on such methods of spiritual realization as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga must leave the body at a suitable time and therefore be assured whether or not they will be returned to the world of birth and death. If the yogi is perfect, he can select the time and situation for leaving this material world. But if he is not so expert, his success depends on his accidentally passing away at a certain suitable time. The suitable times at which one passes away and does not come back are explained by the Lord in the next verse. According to Acharya Baladev Vidyabhushan, the Sanskrit word kala, used herein, refers to the presiding deity of time. Text 24. Agnir Jyotir Aha Shukla Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahma Vido Janaha. Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god, in the light, at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. Purport. When fire, light, day, and the fortnight of the moon are mentioned, it is to be understood that over all of them there are various presiding deities who make arrangements for the passage of the soul. At the time of death, the mind carries one on the path to a new life. If one leaves the body at the time designated above, either accidentally or by arrangement, it is possible for him to attain the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Mystics who are advanced in yoga practice can arrange the time and place to leave the body. Others have no control. If by accident they leave it in an auspicious moment, then they will not return to the cycle of birth and death, but otherwise there is every possibility that they will have to return. However, for the pure devotee in Krishna consciousness, there is no fear of returning, whether he leaves the body at an auspicious or inauspicious moment, by accident or by arrangement. Text 25. Dhumuratris tatha Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandramasam Jyotir Yogi Prapya Nivartate. Translation. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun travels to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back. Purport. In the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Muni mentions that those who are expert in fruitive activities and sacrificial methods on earth attain to the moon at death. These elevated souls live in the moon for about 10,000 years by demigod calculations and enjoy life by drinking somarasa. They eventually return to earth. This means that on the moon there are higher classes of living beings, though they may not be perceived by the gross senses. Text 26. Shukla Krishne Gati Yeshte Jagatak Shaswate Mate Ekaya Yatana Vritim Anyaya Vartate Punaha. According to Vedic opinion, there are 2 ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back, but when one passes in darkness, he returns. Purport. The same description of departure and return is quoted by Acharya Baladev Vidyabhushan from the Chandogya Upanishad. Those who are fruitive laborers and philosophical speculators from time immemorial are constantly going and coming. Actually, they do not attain supreme ultimate salvation, for they do not surrender to Krishna. Text 27. Naite Shriti Partajanan Yogi Muyati Kaschana Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukto Bhavarjana. Although the devotees know these 2 paths, O Arjun, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. Purport. Krishna is here advising Arjuna that he should not be disturbed by the different paths the soul can take when leaving the material world. A devotee of the Supreme Lord should not worry whether he will depart by arrangement or by accident. The devotee should be firmly established in Krishna consciousness and chant Hare Krishna. He should know that concern over either of these 2 paths is troublesome. The best way to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness is to be always dovetailed in his service, and this will make one's path to the spiritual kingdom safe, certain, and direct. The word Yoga Yukta is especially significant in this verse. One who is firm in yoga is constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness in all his activities. Sri Rupa Goswami advises, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjitaha. One should be unattached in material affairs and do everything in Krishna consciousness. By this system, which is called Yukta Vairagya, one attains perfection. Therefore, the devotee is not disturbed by these descriptions, because he knows that his passage to the Supreme Abode is guaranteed by devotional service. Text 28. Oops. Oh, I went to the, I did the same thing I did before. This screen is very, very sensitive. And if you push one of the numbers or words that are highlighted in green, it goes to another place. Sorry. Just give me a minute to get back to where we're supposed to be. Yeah. Text 28. Vedeshu yagyeshu tapakshu chaiva daneshu yat punyapalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidang viditva yogi param stanam upaiti chajam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. Purport. This verse is the summation of the 7th and 8th chapters, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master, just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for some time, at least from the age 5 to 20, he becomes a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. When he is a householder, he has to perform many sacrifices so that he may achieve further enlightenment. He must also give charity according to the country, time, and candidate, discriminating among charity in goodness, in passion, and in ignorance, as described in Bhagavad-Gita. Then, after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprast, he undergoes severe penances, living in the forests, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, so on. By carrying out the orders of brahmacharya, household life, Vanaprast, and finally sannyas, one becomes elevated to the perfectional stage of life. Hey, I heard you had a great kirtan in your house last night.
Yes.
I heard. I was so disappointed I wasn't there. Anyway, keep it up. Keep the transcendental vibration going.
Thank you.
Her birthday this week.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Belated.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. I won't ask you how old you are because it's not polite to ask a woman how old she is. The beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. The words idam viditva indicate that one should understand the instructions given by Sri Krishna in this chapter and the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. Is this the sun sign or the moon sign? Is it? Does it change every year? Sun.
English calendar. It's August 17th.
I was going to say that would be a very auspicious birth if you were born right after Janmashtami, Prabhupada's appearance, and then you came. that would be charming. One should try to understand these chapters not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in association with devotees. Hare Krishna. Chapters 7 through 12 are the essence of Bhagavad-Gita. The first 6 and the last 6 chapters are like coverings for the middle 6 chapters, which are especially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad-Gita, especially these middle 6 chapters, in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculations, and so on. For one can achieve all the results of these activities simply by Krishna consciousness. One who has a little faith in Bhagavad-Gita should learn Bhagavad-Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the 4th chapter, it is stated clearly that Bhagavad-Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of Bhagavad-Gita. One should therefore learn Bhagavad-Gita from a devotee of Krishna, not from mental speculators. This is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee and fortunately gets a devotee's association, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad-Gita. By advancement in the association of the devotee, one is placed in devotional service, and this service dispels all one's misgivings about Krishna, or God, and Krishna's activities, form, pastimes, name, and other features. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad-Gita and attains the state of feeling always Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. This highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Goloka Vrindavan, where the devotee becomes eternally happy. What's not to like? Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 8th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita in the matter of attaining the Supreme. So, we're doing good. I wanted to get to the 9th chapter, so Krishna arranged for my computer to go on the fritz so that I can spend an extra day. I'm going to go right into the 9th chapter. This is my favorite chapter, actually. The most confidential knowledge, chapter 9. And there's a little blurb here right at the beginning. Lord Krishna is the supreme Godhead and the supreme object of worship. The soul is eternally related to him through transcendental devotional service, bhakti. By reviving one's pure devotion, one returns to Krishna in the spiritual realm. Text 1. Shri Bhagavad Uvacha Idam tu te guyatamam prabhaksham manasu yave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajyatma moksheshu bhat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjun, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Purport. As a devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. This hearing process is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Quote, the messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are full of potencies, and these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Supreme Godhead are discussed amongst devotees. This cannot be achieved by the association of mental speculators or academic scholars, for it is realized knowledge. The devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. The Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives him the intelligence to understand the science of Krishna in the association of devotees. Discussion of Krishna is very potent, and if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement towards spiritual realization. Lord Krishna, in order to encourage Arjuna to higher and higher elevation in his potent service, describes in this 9th chapter matters more confidential than any he has already disclosed. The very beginning of Bhagavad-Gita, the 1st chapter, is more or less an introduction to the rest of the book. And in the 2nd and 3rd chapters, the spiritual knowledge described is very confidential, is called confidential. Topics discussed in the 7th and 8th chapters are specifically related to devotional service, and because they bring enlightenment in Krishna consciousness, they are called more confidential. But the matters which are described in the 9th chapter deal with unalloyed, pure devotion. Therefore, this is called the most confidential. One who is situated in the most confidential knowledge of Krishna is naturally transcendental. He therefore has no material pangs, although he is in the material world. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu it is said that although one who has a sincere desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord is situated in the conditional state of material existence, he is to be considered liberated. Similarly, we shall find in the Bhagavad-Gita 10th chapter that anyone who is engaged in that way is a liberated person. Now, this first verse has specific significance. The words idam jnanam, this knowledge, refer to pure devotional service, which consists of 9 different activities: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, obeying, maintaining friendship, and surrendering everything. By the practice of these 9 elements of devotional service, one is elevated to spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. When one's heart is thus cleared of material contamination, one can understand this science of Krishna. Simply to understand that the living entity is not material is not sufficient. That may be the beginning of spiritual realization, but one should recognize the difference between activities of the body and the spiritual activities of one who understands that he is not the body. In the 7th chapter, we have already discussed the opulent potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his different energies, the inferior and superior natures, and all this material manifestation. Now in the chapter 9, the glories of the Lord will be delineated. The Sanskrit word anasuyave in this verse is also very significant. Generally, the commentators, even if they are highly scholarly, are all envious of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the most erudite scholars write on Bhagavad-Gita very inaccurately. Because they are envious of Krishna, their commentaries are useless. The commentaries given by devotees of the Lord are bona fide. No one can explain Bhagavad-Gita or give perfect knowledge of Krishna if he is envious. One who criticizes the character of Krishna without knowing him is a fool. So such commentaries should be very carefully avoided. For one who understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the pure and transcendental personality, these chapters will be very beneficial. Text 2. Rajavidya, Rajaguyam, Pavitram Idamutamam, Pratyakshabagamam Dharmyam, Susukam Kartam Avyayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. Purport. This chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the King of Education because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. Among the principal philosophers of India are Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Yajnavalkya, Shandilya, and Vaishvarana. And finally, there is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. And so there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now the Lord says that this 9th chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and different kinds of philosophy. It is the most confidential because confidential or transcendental knowledge involves understanding the difference between the soul and the body. And the king of all confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. Generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They are educated in external knowledge. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, and so on. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world and many huge universities, but there is unfortunately no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. The Bhagavad-Gita, especially from the 2nd chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable and that the soul is not perishable. Antavanta ime deha nityas yokta shiririnaha. That is a confidential part of knowledge. Simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body, and that when the body is finished, or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. But actually that is not the fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from the body? It is always active. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active. And its activities in the spiritual kingdom are the most confidential part of spiritual knowledge. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated here as constituting the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of all knowledge. This knowledge is the purest form of all activities, as explained in Vedic literature. In the Padma Purana, man's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be the results of sin after sin. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities are entangled in different stages and forms of sinful reactions. For instance, when the seed of a particular tree is sown, the tree does not appear immediately to grow. It takes some time. It is first a small sprouting plant, then it assumes the form of a tree, then it flowers and bears fruit, and when it is complete, the flowers and fruits are enjoyed by persons who have sown the seed of the tree. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act, and like a seed, it takes time to fructify. There are different stages. The sinful action may have already stopped within the individual, but the results or the fruit of that sinful action are still to be enjoyed. There are sins which are still in the form of a seed, and there are others which are already fructified and are giving us fruit, which we are enjoying as distress and pain. As explained in the 28th verse of the 7th chapter, a person who has completely ended the reactions of all sinful activities and who is fully engaged in pious activities, being freed from the duality of this material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, those who are actually engaged in the devotional service of the Lord are already freed from all reactions. This statement is confirmed in the Padma Purana. Aprarabdha palam papam kutam bijam palon mukam kramanaiva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti pratatmanam. For those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all sinful reactions, whether fructified in the stalk or in the form of a seed, gradually vanish. Therefore, the purifying potency of devotional service is very strong, and it is called Pavitram Uttamam, the purest. Uttama means transcendental. Tamas means this material world, or darkness, and Uttama means that which is transcendental to material activities. Devotional activities are never to be considered material, although sometimes it appears that devotees are engaged just like ordinary men. One who can see and is familiar with devotional service will know that they are not material activities. They are all spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is said that the execution of devotional service is so perfect that one can perceive the results directly. This direct result is actually perceived, and we have practical experience that any person who is chanting the holy names of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, in course of chanting without offenses, feels some transcendental pleasure and very quickly becomes purified of all material contamination. This is actually seen. Furthermore, if one engages not only in hearing, but in trying to broadcast the message of devotional activities as well, or if he engages himself in helping the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness, he gradually feels spiritual progress. This advancement in spiritual life does not depend on any kind of previous education or qualification. The method itself is so pure that by simply engaging in it, one becomes pure. Hare Krishna. In the Vedanta Sutra, this is also described in the following words: Prakashas cha karmanyabhyasat. Devotional service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotional service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. A practical example of this can be seen in the previous life of Narada, who in that life happened to be the son of a maidservant. He had no education, nor was he born into a high family. But when his mother was engaged in serving great devotees, Narada also became engaged, and sometimes, in the absence of his mother, he would serve the great devotees himself. Narada personally says, Uchchishta lepan anumodito dvijay sakrit smadbhunje tadapastakil vishaha evam pravritasya vishuddha chetasas tad dharma evatmruchi prajayate. In this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada describes his previous life to his disciple Vyasadeva. He says that while engaged as a boy servant for those purified devotees during the 4 months of their stay, he was intimately associating with them. Sometimes those sages left remnants of food on their dishes, and the boy who had washed their dishes wanted to taste the remnants. So he asked the great devotees for their permission, and when they gave it, Narada ate those remnants and consequently became freed from all sinful reactions. As he went on eating, he gradually became as pure-hearted as the sages. The great devotees relished the taste of unceasing devotional service to the Lord by hearing and chanting, and Narada gradually developed the same taste. Narada says further, Tatranuvaham Krishnakata Pragayatam Anugrahina Srinavan Manoraha Takshadayame Nupadam Vishrinbata Priyasharvasyanga Mamad Bhavabhuchihi. By associating with the sages, Narada got the taste for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and he developed a great desire for devotional service. Therefore, as described in the Vedanta Sutra, Prakashas cha karma yabhyasat. If one is engaged simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically, and he can understand. This is called pratyaksha, directly perceived. The word dharmyam means the path of religion. Narada was actually a son of a maidservant. He had no opportunity to go to school. He was simply assisting his mother, and fortunately, his mother rendered some service to the devotees. The child Narada also got the opportunity, and simply by association achieved the highest goal of all religion. The highest goal of all religion is devotional service, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Savai pungsam paro dharmo yito bhaktir dadhoksaje. Religious people generally do not know that the highest perfection of religion is the attainment of devotional service. As we have already discussed in regard to the last verse of chapter 8, Vedeshu, Yagyeshu, Tipaksu Chaiva. Generally, Vedic knowledge is required for self-realization. But here, although Narada never went to the school of the spiritual master and was not educated in the Vedic principles, he acquired the highest results of Vedic study. This process is so potent that even without performing the religious process regularly, one can be raised to the highest perfection. How is this possible? This is also confirmed in Vedic literature. Acharyavan Purusho Veda, one who is in association with great acharyas, even if he is not educated or has never studied the Vedas, can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization. The process of devotional service is a very happy one. Susukam. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord, or can attain philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting, one can learn. Then one can eat remnants of the food offered to the Lord. Nice, palatable dishes. Hare Krishna. We have lots of nice, palatable dishes here in Houston, particularly. In every state, devotional service is joyful. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. The Lord says, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam. He is ready to accept from the devotee any kind of offering, never mind what. Even a leaf, flower, a bit of fruit, or a little water, which are available in every part of the world, can be offered to any person, regardless of social position, and will be accepted if offered with love. Now, this is a very important point, because sometimes men in India, families, they're very wealthy. There are some very wealthy, aristocratic persons in India. And they because they know the Vedic culture, they keep temples in their homes. And sometimes they'll open the door, throw in a banana, close the door, go cook a huge feast, and enjoy with their families. And they think that because Krishna says, if you just offer me a leaf or a water or fruit, then I'll accept it. But the key word is with love. You can't be said to be offering something with love if you just give the Lord a banana and yourself have a big feast with all your relatives and friends and everything. That's the difference. There are many instances in history simply by tasting the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages like Sanat Kumara became great devotees. Therefore the devotional process is very nice, and it can be executed in a happy mood. God accepts only the love with which things are offered to Him. It is said here, then, when somebody really knows how to cook, and they have a lot of love, and they're cooking with a lot of love, and offering and love, oh, then it's very nice. It is said here that this devotional service is eternally existing. It is not as the Mayavadi philosophers claim. Although they sometimes take to so-called devotional service, their idea is that as long as they are not liberated, they will continue their devotional service. But at the end, when they become liberated, they will become one with God. Such temporary, time-serving devotional service is not accepted as pure devotional service. Actual devotional service continues even after liberation. When the devotee goes to the spiritual planet in the kingdom of God, he is also engaged there in serving the Supreme Lord. He does not try to become one with the Supreme Lord. As will be seen in Bhagavad-Gita, actual devotional service begins after liberation. After one is liberated, when one is situated in the Brahman position, Brahmabhuta, Once devotional service begins, samak sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. By executing devotional service, one can understand the Supreme Lord. No one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing karma yoga, jnana yoga, astanga yoga, or any other yoga independently. By these yogic methods, one may make a little progress toward bhakti yoga, but without coming to the stage of devotional service, one cannot understand what is the personality of Godhead. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed that when one becomes purified by executing the process of devotional service, especially by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-Gita from realized souls, then he can understand the science of Krishna or the science of God. Evam prasanamanaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha. When one's heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. Thus the process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the purest form of religion, and it can be executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. That's a particularly meaningful sentence for me because it's the sentence that I read when I first touched the Gita, the first few minutes, and I surrendered immediately. And I never looked back. It was 45 years ago. Text 3. Ashadadanak purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapyamam nibartante mrityu sangsara vartmani. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. Purport. The faithless cannot accomplish this process of devotional service. That is the purport of this verse. Faith is created by association with devotees. Unfortunate people, even after hearing all the evidence of Vedic literature from great personalities, still have no faith in God. They are hesitant and cannot stay fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, faith is a most important factor for progress in Krishna consciousness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that faith is the complete conviction that simply by serving the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, one can achieve all perfection. That is called real faith. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Yatha tador mulnisheshanena tripyanti tat skanda pujo prashakaha prano paharach chajatendriyanam tataiva sarvar hanamachyuteja. By giving water to the root of a tree, one satisfies its branches, twigs, and leaves, and by supplying food to the stomach, one satisfies all the senses of the body. Similarly, by engaging in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, one automatically satisfies all the demigods and all other living entities. Therefore, after reading Bhagavad-Gita, one should promptly come to the conclusion of Bhagavad-Gita. One should give up all other engagements and adopt the service of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. If one is convinced of this philosophy of life, that is faith. Now, the development of that faith is the process of Krishna consciousness. There are three divisions of Krishna conscious men. In the third class are those who have no faith. Even if they are officially engaged in devotional service, they cannot achieve the highest perfectional stage. Most probably they will slip after some time. They may become engaged, but because they haven't complete conviction and faith, it is very difficult for them to continue in Krishna consciousness. We have practical experience in discharging our missionary activity that some people come and apply themselves to Krishna consciousness with some hidden motive. And as soon as they're economically a little well situated, they give up this process and take to their old ways again. It is only by faith that one can advance in Krishna consciousness. As far as the development of faith is concerned, one who is well versed in the literatures of devotional service and has attained the stage of firm faith is called a first-class person in Krishna consciousness. And in the second class are those who are not very advanced in understanding the devotional scriptures, but who automatically have firm faith that Krishna Bhakti, or service to Krishna, is the best course, and so in good faith have taken it up. Thus they are superior to the third class, who have neither perfect knowledge of the scriptures nor good faith, but by association and simplicity are trying to follow. The third class person in Krishna consciousness may fall down, but when one is in the second class, he does not fall down. And for the first class person in Krishna consciousness, there is no chance of falling down. One in the first class will surely make progress and achieve the result in the end. As far as the third class person in Krishna consciousness is concerned, although he has faith in the conviction that devotional service to Krishna is very good, he has not yet gained adequate knowledge of Krishna through the scriptures, like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-Gita. Sometimes these third-class persons in Krishna consciousness have some tendency toward karma yoga and jnana yoga, and sometimes they are disturbed. But as soon as the infection of karma yoga or jnana yoga is vanquished, they become second-class or first-class persons in Krishna consciousness. Faith in Krishna is also divided into 3 stages, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. First-class attachment, second-class attachment, and third-class attachment are also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. Those who have no faith, even after hearing about Krishna and the excellence of devotional service, who think that it is simply eulogy, find the path very difficult, even if they are supposedly engaged in devotional service. For them there is very little hope of gaining perfection. Thus faith is very important in the discharge of devotional service. If you remember, in the 4th chapter, or in the 8th chapter, there was a verse, Nahi jnanina sadvisham, pavitram iva vidyate, that there's nothing so sublime, pure, as transcendental knowledge. And in the first sentence of that purport, Prabhupada makes a profound statement. He says, when we speak of transcendental knowledge, we're speaking of spiritual understanding. When we understand the meaning of these concepts, then our material conceptions become purified. And it's the material conceptions that we have of ourselves and the world and purpose of life and all these things that keeps us in material affection and keeps us from attaining pure faith. So pure faith, again, we read just the other day, pure faith means unflinching faith in something sublime. Even if we haven't tasted it, we have firm faith that it exists. And if you remember another sentence in the 3rd chapter, I think it's verse 30 or 31, where Prabhupada says that in the beginning one may not be able to discharge all the duties of Krishna consciousness, but if one is not resentful of that principle, then he surely continues and becomes fixed eventually in devotional service and can become a pure devotee of Krishna. So by not becoming resentful, it means that one should not resent the fact that one must become pure eventually. We shouldn't resent the fact that, we're not now and we have to do this or that to get there. And never become discouraged or chronically depressed that it's taking so long, But anyway, one with sincere faith who continues the process, then gradually the taste comes. Then it becomes easier. So this is a very, very important concept in this chapter, and it's been leading up to this, actually. That's why Prabhupada is spending such long purports in these first few verses of the 9th chapter. So I'll read the last sentence. Thus faith is very important in the discharge of devotional service. Essential truth, spoken concisely, is true eloquence. Text 4. Maya tatamidang sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham te shavastitaha. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not perceivable through the gross material senses. It is said, Atak Sri Krishna Namadi, Nabhaved Grayam Indriyahi, Sevan Mukhe Hijivado, Swayam Eva Spuratyadaha. Lord Sri Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, and so on, cannot be understood by material senses. One has only to one who is engaged in pure devotional service under proper guidance is he revealed. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Premanjana Chudita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sadhaiva Hridaye Shubilo Kayanti. One can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, always within himself and outside himself, if one has developed a transcendental loving attitude towards him. Thus, for people in general, he is not visible. Here it is said that although he is all-pervading, everywhere present, he is not conceivable by the material senses. This is indicated here by the word abhyakta murtina. But actually, although we cannot see him, everything is resting in him. As we have discussed in the 7th chapter, the entire material cosmic manifestation is only a combination of his two different energies, the superior spiritual energy and the inferior material energy. Just as the sunshine is spread all over the universe, the energy of the Lord is spread all over the creation, and everything is resting in that energy. Yet one should not conclude that because he is spread all over, he has lost his personal existence. To refute such an argument, the Lord says, I am everywhere, and everything is in me, but still I am aloof. For example, a king heads a government, which is but the manifestation of the king's energy. The different governmental departments are nothing but the energies of the king, and each department is resting on the king's power. But still, one cannot expect the king to be present in every department personally. That is a crude example. Similarly, all the manifestations that we see and everything that exists, both in this material world and in the spiritual world, are resting on the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The creation takes place by the diffusion of his different energies, and as stated in the Bhagavad-Gita, Ishtabhyaham idam kritsnam. He is everywhere present by his personal representation, the diffusion of his different energies. Jai Shri Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Nice purport. Okay. Nachamat stani bhutani. Text 5. Nachamat stani bhutani pashyame yogamaishvaram bhuta brinna cha bhutasto mamatma bhutabhavanaha. And yet, everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. Purport. The Lord says that everything is resting on him. Matstani sarvabhutani. This should not be misunderstood. The Lord is not directly concerned with the maintenance and sustenance of this material manifestation. Sometimes we see a picture of Atlas holding the globe on his shoulders. He seems to be very tired holding this great earthly planet. Such an image should not be entertained in connection with Krishna's upholding this created universe. He says that although everything is resting on him, he is aloof. The planetary systems are floating in space, and this space is the energy of the Supreme Lord. But he is different from space. He is differently situated. Therefore the Lord says, although they are situated on my inconceivable energy, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am aloof from them. This is the inconceivable opulence of the Lord. When Krishna was here on this planet 5,000 years ago, he appeared in his original Narayan form with 4 hands, fully clothed, fully beautiful hair, ornaments, jewels, flower garland, and he came. There he was, and the woman was mothered. All of a sudden he was outside. Didn't have to go through the normal channels. And then, because his mother was very upset because Kamsa had killed 6 of her babies. He was such a demon. And she was afraid because she was a pure devotee, even though he appeared like that, so there's no way that he could be hurt or whatever. But still, she was afraid, so she requested him, please hide yourself, because Kamsa may come and kill you. So in order to please his mother, he shrunk himself down into a little baby size, and then told Vasudeva to carry him over to the other side of the Yamuna River, to Gokula, and put him on the lap of Mother Yashoda, who just happened to have given birth to a female child, who happened to be Yogamaya, Krishna's energy. So anyway, you know that story, but the point I'm making is that Krishna then appeared to grow. And when he was about 7 years old, and he provoked Indra, and Indra caused that horrible downpour, then Krishna decided he was going to pick up Govardhan Hill and use it as an umbrella, and then all the Brajvasis could get underneath and be saved. And in the meantime, he could show Indra who the boss was. So he was standing there, and the Brajvasis came and looked, underneath, and there was this big cavern, for them to get under. But Mother Yashoda, she said, "No, don't go down there. He's only 7 years old. He's holding up this huge hill. He's going to drop it at any second. We'll all be crushed." So Krishna was like this: "Don't listen to my mother. Can't you see? The hill is just weightless, and I'm just standing here. Am I sweating? Are my muscles trembling? I'm enjoying. So you come under here." So this is the point, that atheists and those without faith, when they hear something like that, they either think it's a myth, it didn't happen, because they cannot understand the inconceivable potency of the Lord. It's as simple as that. Jiva Goswami, in the Bhakti Sandarbha, actually all the way through the Sandarbhas, he makes this point, that unless one can actually accept the inconceivable energy, the unlimited, inconceivable energy of Krishna, that a person can be capable of doing something like that, then he can't understand Krishna. He can't understand God. He's always comparing God to himself or to any other powerful person he's seen, and no one can come close to do anything like that, and therefore they just don't believe it. And therefore all through the Gita makes the same point, Krishna. Agyascha shadananascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokastinaparo na sukham samshayatmanaha. One who is faithless, who thinks like that, who can't unhesitatingly admit that there must be someone who is doing this creation. Nothing's moving from, this table can't move unless I move it. A soul, consciousness has to move it. Even our bodies, the bodies are actually inert, dull. When the soul leaves the body is just like they have to throw it away, and as soon as possible, and bury it as deep as possible, or burn it, or throw it to the vultures or whatever. and then it becomes stool or ashes, that means that the body is actually inert. It's like the table. So when this says that Krishna is in one place, this is what it's describing, and this is the most confidential part of knowledge. It's the beginning of pure devotional service. If you can understand this, and if you can accept this wholeheartedly, without any hesitation, without any argument, with faith and love, then you can understand. Then you're given spiritual intelligence by Krishna from within. Oh, it's about time you're recognizing that someone else is, must be directing things around here. Otherwise, well, how would you know what to do? And you wake up in the morning completely in ignorance. Oh yeah, I've got to, oh yeah, I have to, I remember now I have this duty and I have to do this. There's a wonderful purport in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam in which Krishna gives this, Prabhupada gives this analysis in the purport of just how it is that we have to accept this because we're not in control. No matter how much we want to not get old, here we are. I mean, you're a little ahead of me, but hey, and all you youngsters in there. Yeah. I watched with my own eyes. I was there when Prabhupada left his body. I watched when he was in the body, and he was in such a difficult situation. You know, the doctor said that any person who was in this condition would be screaming in pain and begging for morphine. He didn't take anything. And so they had to move him at the last stage. They had to move him so the bed sores wouldn't, you know, doctors know that. So they turned him over one time, and I was sitting in the corner with a few other devotees, chanting with little tiny cymbals, very softly, chanting Hare Krishna, because he had kirtan going on 24 hours. And Prabhupada lived like this, and all of a sudden he smiled, and he said, "Don't think this isn't going to happen to you." And it was like, it was like a searing, missile going into the heart. It was so powerful. And then practically to the last breath, they would put the dictaphone in front of his, you saw that in the movie, and he would say these purports that were like unbelievable. You practically didn't have to edit them. They were like superhuman, not possible. So when Krishna and Krishna's pure devotee comes and does things like this, and you can understand and accept that these things are real, that there is supernatural power, and it's coming from the supreme supernatural person, Krishna, then your life changes completely. And even though sometimes Krishna, when he was on the planet Earth and he was acting like a human being, sometimes he would momentarily act like a human being. Like, for instance, when Shava was a big demon, and he did all these austerities, and he asked for a boon from Lord Shiva. And he said, "I want an airplane that is indestructible." And then he gave some conditions, of course. And I want it to be able to harass the Yadu dynasty as much as possible. Because he was a friend of Shishupal, and Shishupal in so many ways had been harassed by Krishna, and then eventually Krishna killed him. So he came there. And anyway, when Shava attacked Dwarka, Krishna was in Hastinapur assisting Yudhishthira in the Rajasuya sacrifice that he performed, huge sacrifice. And Krishna had arranged that he could do it successfully. So Shava actually did harass, because he got that benediction from Shiva, who's very powerful, and he did harass Dwarka. And everyone was afraid. And then Krishna understood what was happening. And he immediately left, at the speed of wind, and he came there. And he just, boom, with his club, and the airplane went, boom, fell to pieces. These are historical documents. These things actually happen. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. It's getting late. Where are we? The inconceivable opulence of the Lord. He actually does it. He doesn't just say it. He does it. No one else can do what he did. In the Nirukti Vedic dictionary it is said, Yujyate nena durgate shukaryeshu. The Supreme Lord is performing inconceivably wonderful pastimes, displaying his energy. His person is full of different potent energies, and his determination is itself actual fact. In this way, the personality of Godhead is to be understood. We may think of doing something, but there are so many impediments, and sometimes it is not possible to do as we like. But when Krishna wants to do something, simply by his willing, everything is performed so perfectly that one cannot imagine how it is being done. The Lord explains this fact. Although he is the maintainer and sustainer of the entire material manifestation, he does not touch this material manifestation. Simply by his supreme will, everything is created, everything is sustained, everything is maintained, and everything is annihilated. There is no difference between his mind and himself, as there is a difference between ourselves and our present material mind. Because he is absolute spirit. Simultaneously, the Lord is present in everything, yet the common man cannot understand how he is present personally. He is different from this material manifestation, yet everything is resting on him. This is explained here as Yogam, Aishwaram, the mystic power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the clear indication. Mystic. Mystic means not understandable, inconceivable. Prabhupada explained the word inconceivable through this word mystic. Even our own bodies have mystic powers. They do things that we can't ask the doctors. You know, we know so many things. The nail, it grows, and it grows just exactly the right size, and you can cut it, and there's no pain. And you cut just a little tiny bit close to it, and it can ruin your whole day or week, however long it takes to heal. And then it heals, even without a doctor. No offense. I mean, she saved my life, both of them, so I can't complain about doctors. But these are, the hair comes out. How is that happening? You know? These are the mystic potencies of the body, of the energy, the spiritual energy. And when the soul goes out, nothing grows, hair stops growing, everything just stops. Mystic power, that's what makes inconceivability. The sun, just, I remember when we were children, we went to stay overnight with our friends. We would sleep out of the yard. We'd lay on our backs and look at the stars. And inconceivable. Mystic power, sun. Hare Krishna. So once again, I'm going to turn into a pumpkin if I don't follow my... Yes, please.
Could you throw some light how devotees should observe the solar eclipse?
Could I throw some light on how the devotees should observe the solar eclipse?
What is recommended for us?
Do you remember what I read last night? That little section from I read a little section from the chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam in which all the saintly persons from all around India at the solar eclipse. They all went to Kurukshetra and they performed a great sacrifice. And the Brajvasis came, and the Yadus came, and they met together, and they were wonderful, loving exchanges, and huge sacrifice. So when Lord Chaitanya appeared, there was a moon eclipse, lunar eclipse. So when lunar eclipses or solar eclipses come, they're not considered to be auspicious. So therefore we must try to increase our devotional activities. But because we're devotees of Krishna, and Krishna's controlling the whole thing, we don't have to worry as much about the rituals. You know, pure devotees are not so worried about the rituals, but they are so attached to Krishna that when something like that happens which may be inauspicious, they try to make it auspicious. That's why in Ekadashi, it's considered to be inauspicious, but it's auspicious because it's an event where everybody does extra spiritual activities. When Lord Chaitanya appeared, everyone was in the Ganga and other holy rivers, you know, taking bath and chanting Hare Krishna. In that way, he inaugurated the chanting of Hare Krishna on a somewhat so-called inauspicious day. So there's no day that's inauspicious for a devotee. Just chant Hare Krishna the whole day. Don't stop. Then you'll associate with Krishna. Krishna and his name. This is the goal of Krishna consciousness, actually. To actually realize that Krishna and his name are not different. So you can associate with Krishna directly whenever you want. It doesn't cost you a penny. No hard and fast rules. So that's the essence of what I'm trying to say. We're not so much into the rituals, although we're neophytes, so we do have our ceremonies and our so many things. But the reality is that, you know, the chanting of Hare Krishna is all powerful, and the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why when the sages of Naimisharanya assembled, you know, they performed 1,000-year sacrifice. That's serious hearing and chanting. 1,000 years straight. So we can't imitate that, but we can, according to our capacity, just increase our devotional activities. Is that something? That's why it says in the end of the 8th chapter, we just read it, the devotees, just by doing devotional service, they get the advantage of all those, you know, Vedesha, Yajna, for study the Vedas, doing sacrifice, performing austerities, all these things. They get the benefits of all those things just by performing devotional service. And the supreme devotional service, the pure devotional service, is to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. And serve the Lord menially. Okay, but so by Krishna's grace, I don't have to say goodbye tonight. I don't like goodbyes. I like to go when nobody's around. It's like Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, can you read those Chatusloka in this chapter? Important, the four important verses.
That's the 10th chapter.
Oh, 10.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Tomorrow I won't.
Force you to come.
You're going to read tomorrow evening?
Yes. I wouldn't miss this for anything. For anything. This is the most, and I think everyone is experiencing it. It's so pleasing. And the kirtan and this, that's it. But you have to do both. You have to do both. The kirtan's everything, but then you have to learn how to chant properly and what to remember, what to, you know, how to feel, you know, wonderful when you chant. So these books teach us how to think properly and conceive of Krishna properly. So then we can chant with the proper attitude and proper mood. So these two things are the main purposes of Krishna's teachings, Lord Chaitanya's teachings, Prabhupada's teachings. And all the other services, they become empowered by these two processes, hearing and chanting. If you don't hear and chant properly or sufficiently, then whatever you're doing, even if it's dressing the deities, it will come after a while, it will become like dressing dolls. Burden. Very troublesome, especially when he's that big. It's difficult. It takes strength and stamina and all those things. Okay, so I'll see you again tomorrow night. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Glories to your ears. Hari Bol.